Welcome to Freedom Motivated with Christina Whiteley, the podcast that empowers you to live life on your terms. Are you uninspired, bored, and unhappy with where life has taken you? And yearning for a life filled with purpose and passion? Look no further. We are here to ignite that fire within, to awaken your true potential, and to guide you on a journey towards absolute freedom. Join us as we delve into the minds of incredible entrepreneurs and freedom leaders from very different backgrounds with incredible stories. Be inspired by their resilience and learn from their challenges they faced along the path to success. These are the brave individuals who fight every day to awaken people to the power of self-responsibility and who inspire them to create a life they are absolutely in love with. Each episode will explore the concept of conscious income creation, building a business or creating a career that aligns with your unique skill set, purpose, values, and belief system. Discover the strategies, tips, and invaluable insights shared by our guests as they guide you towards making a living doing what you love. It's time to break free from the shackles of conformity and embrace the freedom that awaits. Are you ready to take control of your life? Are you ready to step into the life you've always dreamed of? Then welcome to Freedom Motivated, the podcast that will ignite your spirit and unleash your potential. All right, we are live, and I am so excited to have Miss Marina Worre here today. You guys, I have been doing this podcast for a couple of years, and there are some very, very special people that I've always had on a list that I wanted on my podcast, and here is one of them. I've been following her and her husband, Eric, for many, many years in the network marketing space, but there's so much more to network marketing, but network marketing over the last few years has gotten a bad stigma to it. But let me tell you the impact that these people have made with many of the leaders in the industry. Not only that, but they're empowering people to step into their impact, right? To make a bigger difference in this world, to create generational wealth, to create something that maybe their family never even dreamed of. And I know Marina's got a really incredible event coming up that I can't wait to talk to you about, the most powerful women. Today we're going to hear her story, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to bridge the gap between your current state and where you want to go. And that's what we talk about here on this podcast, Freedom Motivated, is how to create your freedom in the world and how to truly act in purpose and impact with intentional action. So Miss Marina Worre, thank you so much for being here. Welcome. I'm excited to speak with you today and have a conversation because I know that you have impacted millions of lives.
Well, thank you so much, Christina, for having me. It's my great honor and pleasure. And thank you so much for sharing your community with me. I'm super excited to spend this next whatever amount of time we're going to talk.
I appreciate you being open to it. And, one of our mutual friends, Miss Maddie Eskelin, introduced us and said that you would be interested in coming on the podcast, which is amazing. It's so funny. As you work your way up in corporate, in network marketing, in life. You work your way up this ladder, right? And there's a very small group of people at the top of that ladder. But let me tell you, the welcome that you get, the abundance of knowledge, the support, the encouragement, there's no drama, there's no pulling people down. It's all impact moving forward. And so I see you as somebody that is completely influential to other women out there and people that are trying to change their lives. And you're a true testament to that. So I would love for you to just start by sharing a little bit about your story, about who you are, where you came from, how all of this came to be, and what got you here in the first place.
Oh my gosh, all the way from the beginning, huh?
So, yeah, because not everybody, there's a lot of people out there that know you, absolutely. But, there's the truth is in the details. And I think that there are also some of my audience that maybe have never met you before. And so I would love for you to share that piece.
Yeah, so I started my entrepreneurial journey when I was 18 years old. I was born and raised in Ukraine. At that time, it was the Soviet Union. So that's a whole another story for a whole another podcast. But this was kind of like, I did not necessarily realize kind of like the entrepreneurship because that was not necessarily the environment I was growing up. Because both of my parents were working, they had jobs, like kind of typical 9 to 5s, not so much. But And when Soviet Union collapsed, and I was supposed to go to study in Russia, and it's a funny story because for whatever reason, my mom always told me that I need to be a diplomat, and I probably would be the worst diplomat possible because I kind of like I don't know. I was like I don't have the diplomacy in me. I would probably create more conflicts than resolve. So thank God that it kind of like paved my way to a different route. And when I was 18, I started a little boutique for kids, anything and everything you can possibly imagine that mom would need for their child was in that store. And I was so passionate about it and I was so excited about it. Oftentimes I would be on the floor being like a salesperson. And when you are an entrepreneur, you are everything. You are the owner, you are the cleaner, you are your legal advice, you are your marketing, you are the salespeople, you are anything and everything you can possibly imagine. You're the first person to take all the risks, and you're the last person to get paid. So that's exciting journey of entrepreneurship. And when I was around 21 years old, I got introduced to my first network marketing opportunity. And that was such an eye-opening experience because, you know, when I came to my first event and I saw all these people dreaming big and supporting each other, just like you mentioned, you know, having that community, the camaraderie, the desire to help and pour all the knowledge and all the experiences that they have into you or into me at the time and help me grow, help me believe in myself bigger, help me to dream bigger, even though I always had like big goals, big dreams, and big eyes, kind of like wide open, ready to tackle on the world. And it was such a different experience than the entrepreneurship because when you are in business, when you're a solopreneur, there are not that many people who want you to succeed because your competition, people who've done similar things that you're doing in the same kind of like industry, they do not want you to succeed because that means that you taking their customers, that means that you taking on their business. So you winning means that they're losing. So nobody wants to share secrets, nobody wants to share best practices, nobody wants to give you like advice or anything like that. And I was just like, wow, in network marketing it's a completely different story. So that community got me first into the groove. And you know, years went by and things happened in my life. I became a single mom. I lost my business. So I had to kind of like stay away from network marketing for a minute because I was raising my son at that time. And a few years later, I realized that the relationship that I had was not necessarily a healthy relationship. It was verbally abusive, and it took me time to even understand what that means because oftentimes when people that we think that love and care about us, they tell us like, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough. We kind of believe that, right? We're not necessarily saying it's like, oh, you're so mean, you're so bad. I kind of like started doubting that maybe I am a bad mom. You know, maybe the reason why my business failed is because I am a bad businesswoman. And maybe I'm not a deserving wife. So that person that when I started my life, who believed in myself, who was told since I was a little girl that I can achieve everything I want in life, that confidence vanished like pretty quickly. And it took me to find out confidence again. So when I found myself in kind of like one of my lowest moments in life, when I realized that relationship is no longer working, I do not want to wake up with that man any longer. But at the same time, I don't have the money to leave. I don't have the money to feed my kids. And my business completely failed. So I started asking all of my business friends, like, what do you know? Like, what can I do? I do not necessarily want a 9 to 5. I want a business, but I don't have any money to invest, but I want to make a lot of money. I want to travel the world. I want a flexible schedule because I have 2 little kids. And, you know, my list was on and on and on and on. And my friends is like, are you crazy? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, what are you talking about? There is no such a thing when you can make a lot of money without investing a lot of money and you don't have a job. So, I mean, it's like, how's that going to work? So it took me a minute to kind of like put the two and two together in my head that I was actually describing network marketing. So when I finally kind of like, you know, the light bulb went on, I was like, oh man, I need to go back to the business that I know. And that was the second time when I came to network marketing and kind of like stayed there for good. And it was an interesting journey. I'm sure a lot of you probably can share some interesting stories. At that time, my company went into the market for the second time. They opened Ukraine for the second time, and not as well as everybody hoped it to be. So we did not have translations. We didn't have our products for 4 months. We didn't have commissions for 4 months. So it was exciting, exciting journey. And me being an entrepreneur, I was like, okay, I need to solve this problem because that's what entrepreneurs do. And because I realized I cannot build my team, I cannot build my business if there is no product, right? There is nothing to sell. And at the same time, how you recruit people into the business when you know that they're not going to get paid in the near future. So I found a way to work with different markets and bring the product to solve that problem for my team, for my organization. Same thing with commissions. And pretty quickly, it ended up being we were solving the problem for the rest of the country. And I was going into the company convention with the clear intention to tell the company that they need to hire me as a country manager because I'm doing their job and they need to start paying me because I cannot build a business as an entrepreneur or as a distributor because I'm fixing their problems. So, and that was the time when I met my husband, Eric, because my sister was translating on stage. And last minute, the company realized that they don't have anybody to help, and it was the distributor organized event, so they didn't have anybody to help with the translation backstage with all the speakers. So they kind of like, oh, you speak English, come, let's go help us. And that's how I ended up spending 3 days backstage with my future husband, now husband, Eric Worre, and pretty much the rest is history. So later on, we started our company, the generic training company, and that's what we've been doing for the last 15 years. Can you believe
Wow. It goes by like that, doesn't it? It
I
goes by
know,
so
I know. It's just like,
fast.
man, 15.
Wow. And I bet he fell in love with you in those 3 days. I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because this business brings like-minded people together. I'm so glad that you got out of that space where you had lost not only your faith in the industry, but lost faith in yourself, right? Because we can get blows like that in business, whether it comes in a relationship, a friendship, whether it comes in business and we make a business error and we lose a business, right? We can get those blows in our life. And sometimes people don't progress forward after that. That takes them out forever. And so to see that you got back up and you were willing to move forward and do something different, you said you started off in the Soviet Union when you were 18 and that that's a conversation for another time. We will absolutely have that conversation another time on this podcast, because we left Canada and moved to Mexico in the middle of COVID, and there's a lot of people that watch this and see what's truly going on in the world right now. And I think entrepreneurship is the answer. I think starting your own business, I think network marketing is the answer to being in control of your own freedom right now, because right now it's being controlled by a lot of other people, and you don't actually have a hope because the odds are stacked against you all around. At least in network marketing, you're responsible, right? You're responsible for your business and the activity that you do.
And that's another kind of like tricky part because here's the thing, it's so much harder to take the responsibility and it's so much easier to blame, right? Because how many people that kind of like, put their arms out like that and say, just says like, oh, it's government, it's my parents, it's my background,
Sure.
it's like society doesn't want me to succeed. And who do you think I am? And how do you expect me to succeed with all the baggage that I have? So all these limiting beliefs, they pile on top of one another. And then at the end of the day, it takes guts to take charge of our own life. It takes guts to make a decision and say, you know what, I'm in control, which we are, and take the responsibility for our actions or inactions. Both of those are actions, just moving into different directions. So I always try to encourage people, just realize that you are in charge and it's your life. There is, as far as we know, this is not a dress rehearsal. And as far as we know, we're not going to have a second chance. Or I read today, our second life starts when we realize we only have one.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, that's up to us. But again, it's a tough decision and a lot of people are afraid to make that one.
Yeah, and with risk comes reward, and most people want small risk, big reward. But and I want to say that that's not true. There's big risk, big reward. But in network marketing, really, it's a fairly small risk financially to get started for the outcome, which potentially could be huge. Now, everyone knows somebody that hasn't done well in network marketing has said so, right? But if you make the decision to do something different, I think you said something really important about owning where you are and taking ownership of your life and what you want and how you want to move forward. And that's the first step towards being able to actually do something about it. And when you talked about your story and talked about raising your son and how that was just a different season of your life, I can very much relate to that because I have a 3-month-old baby at home. And one of the things that I love the most about network marketing is that I get to be at home. My daughter doesn't know, my 8-year-old daughter doesn't know any different. She came home a couple months ago and she goes, Mom, do you know that people actually go to work? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like they leave the house, like they go and they work and then they don't really see their family until like dinner time. And I was like, yeah, I know. We changed everything so that we could be here with you, so that we could raise you, so that we were the ones that were instilling your values and your belief system. We took that very seriously as parents. And I think that when people look at network marketing, I mean, I have kind of a very similar story, but I was 21 when an ex-boyfriend, his dad introduced me to network marketing, but I didn't even know what network marketing was. I just knew here's a product. He's like, go bring this to health food stores and to naturopaths and see if they'll buy it. I'm like, okay. I like drove all over Toronto, all over to all these different stores and pitched this product and talked to people. I think my parents were the only ones who bought it, but not really. There's a few other people, right? And so I did this business, and it wasn't until I was 32 when I had a really bad shoulder injury with my daughter. I was a hairstylist for many, many years, and I wasn't able to continue working. And I was like, what am I going to do now? Like, I don't have maternity leave. I don't have anything to fall back on. And it was just so happened that I was scrolling through Facebook and saw another mom that I had known for a very long time, who's a house cleaner, who was sitting on the beach with her kids making money from her phone. And I thought, what have I done wrong in this life to not live that life? Like, I want that life, the one that I get to go to the beach, the one that I get to be with my kids, the one that I get to make as much money as I want. And nobody's going to tell me that I can't, because I'd also been in jobs where I hit my ceiling at like $36,000 a year. They're like, yeah, there's no more raises for you. And I'm like, what? I can't even pay my rent. Like, I have to go out and bartend on the weekends because I'm not even making enough money to pay my rent or eat. I had to choose between the two, right? So you get to this place in your life and you're like, what do I actually want? And I think that when you do events like this, I think it's so important to talk about how to make strategic decisions towards the life you actually want. And it doesn't matter, starting a business, people are going to judge you. Starting network marketing, people are going to judge you. I was a singer for many years. People judged you. Like, you get judged all the time. And so how do you manage this overwhelm in this crazy world full of distraction, full of I can barely pay my bills, and start to move forward so that you can actually find purpose in what you do and be a great role model for your kids?
Oh, there are a lot of questions in that one question. So let me try to cover some of it. So, first of all, I think the biggest challenge that we have is we do not know what we want. We do not know what the happiness means. We don't know what, success means, at least for ourselves, because like we kind of like we see what Instagram pictures show, right? We see what on social media people post, and it's like, oh, that's life, oh, that's success, or that's what I want. In the reality, oftentimes we don't even know what's behind that picture, and oftentimes that picture is not even real, right? Because like I've seen so many times people rent the cars or stand in front of somebody else's house. I was just recently, my husband and I, we went on a staycation here in Las Vegas for our anniversary, and we were sitting in the pool. We have a cabana, and from the pool, I'm watching two girls, like whatever, 17 years old, something like that, taking pictures in front of my cabana with the towel and the whole thing, pretending they are in that cabana. And then it's going to go on their social media to show, like, look at me, I'm in the fancy pool in Las Vegas in the cabana. So, I mean, it's like there's so much of that. And that goes back to people judging people. So on one side, I will always encourage people that I work with to, first of all, pay attention to the feedback that you're listening, or to the opinion that you're listening. Who is giving it to you? The question that I always want you to ask or think about is like, do you want to trade places with that person? Yes or no? If you really know their life, not just what it looks on social media, but you really know, right? Because oftentimes people look at me as like, oh my gosh, you don't have any problems. And, I wish I had your life. I was like, first of all, you don't even know what my life looks like. You're only seeing small glimpse of that and what exactly I'm showing you, right? You don't see me sometimes being devastated or disappointed or overwhelmed or stressed or working my butt off for 14 hours a day. You don't see that part, right? Because I'm not necessarily showing you. Also, I'm making mistakes. I'm just like you. I'm a human being. I'm not perfect. I make my mistakes. The only difference, my mistakes are much more expensive. Most of
Right.
my mistakes have 7 zeros behind them, right? 6 or 7 zeros behind them. That's the difference. But I do make mistakes. Hopefully, I have a little bit kind of like stronger skill and the mindset to get off my knees, scrape my face from the floor, and get back to work. But other than that, there's not much difference. So, first of all, if you ask yourself a question, do you want to trade places with that person? And if the answer is yes, then I would encourage you to listen to that feedback and see what you can learn from it. Because oftentimes, what we do in the reality, we ask our friends, we ask our neighbors, we ask our relatives, like, oh, what do you think? Should I do this business? Yes or no? Well, that person never built a business. How that person can give you anything of substance, any reasonable or professional feedback on something they never done? It's like, asking somebody who does not have kids how to raise a child. It's asking how to build an amazing marriage and a relationship, somebody who never got married or never been in the relationships. It's like asking somebody to build a business or how to build a business, somebody who has only 9 to 5 and never stepped outside of that paradigm. So all these things I think is important for us to analyze. First of all, is what we really want, right? Once we truly answer the question, not what society is expecting from you, not what your school or your parents or anybody think you should be doing or should be, or how you should look or how you should behave, how you should speak, none of those things, right? What do you want? And what the definition of success and happiness is for you, right? So start there. Once we understand what are those things are, then let's start looking for people who have that, right? Who have that happiness, who have that level of success that you're looking for, and see what they've done and learn and kind of like become a sponge if possible. Attach yourself to their hip and learn everything you can possibly learn. Sometimes it can be books, sometimes it can be events, sometimes it can be like masterminds and the mentors, all of those different things. But what we do instead is we try to look for some kind of a pretty picture on social media, and we think that that's what's going to give us the lessons necessary. I consider mentors or people who are much more successful than me a time machine, because there are two ways how we can learn. One is we can either earn our seat at the table by becoming at the peer level, right? So you have a similar level of success. That means that we spend a certain amount of years learning and growing and becoming better. So we earned that seat at the table and we can mastermind with our peers. Or we can buy our seat at the table. And that's where, you can buy a book, you can buy a course, you can attend an event, you can join whatever group of people who already achieved what you're trying to achieve, to elevate constantly our mindset, to elevate our belief, to elevate our skill set, and just become better. So all these different things I think are powerful and important, but guess what? We're not necessarily doing that. We're looking constantly for approval, or we're trying to fit into the model that the world created for us, the box, being a puzzle in somebody else's dream. There is a crazy statistic that I saw several years back, and it stuck with me for a long time. 98% of people die without fulfilling their dreams because they're afraid to fail. So one of the reasons why majority of us are not taking that first step, are not getting out of the comfort zone, are not deciding to make a shift or change and look at an entrepreneurial venture outside of 9 to 5 is because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't have any, potentially evidence, or we do not know Can we do that? We do not know how it's going to work. A lot of people are really, really petrified of failure, even though failure is part of our journey. We're going to fail, period, end of story. So if you're still thinking that you're not going to fail in this life, it, like, I'm sorry to disappoint you, because that's not true. We all going to fail. We all going to make mistakes. It's just a question of how many, how often, and what do we do after? Because it's all about, did we learn from our mistakes? Because repeating the same thing over and over, that's the definition of insanity, right? And expecting different result. But when we make something, when we fall, when we screw up something, and we learn from that experience, we get better, and we can create a better plan, we can improve that, and we continue to move forward. That's how the whole kind of like journey to success happens. But if we're going to continue to blame people or stay in the same spot, it's just not going to work. So yeah, I think I covered some of it.
That was great. No, that was great. There's so much to unpack. I mean, we could talk for hours. And I really want to highlight the fact that you said, don't take advice from people who haven't gone where you're going. Even as an entrepreneur, I owned my own salon before I got into network marketing. And when I left the salon, it was because I was looking for time freedom. It's not because I was looking for more money. I didn't even know that this money was possible. It was because I needed the time freedom. I wanted to be with my kids on the weekend. I wanted to be able to sing them to sleep at night and not miss out on those things. That was just as important to me as building business. And people were just dumbfounded. They're like, you're giving up this successful business that you've worked 11 years for to do this? And I was like, yeah, 100%, thrown in the towel. Like, I'm ready to go. And I always had that bigger vision. And I think that we so often limit ourselves to what is safe, what is expected, right? And I think that one of the things that we learn growing up is like right and wrong and good and bad. And so people fear failure. But as an entrepreneur, you realize that failure is the way through. Failure is the way to get to success. And the faster you fail, the faster you get there, the faster you learn. And hopefully you don't make massive mistakes. But in the same sense, you have to realize on your way to 100,000, you're going to make $10,000 mistakes. On your way to, $1 million, you're going to make $100,000 mistakes. On your way to 10 million or 100 million, you're going to make $1 million mistakes. Like that's part of the process in becoming who you are to be able to create that kind of business. And that really just comes down to ego, right? Like a lot of the time it comes down to ego, and to decide that you're going to learn from others as opposed to envy them. As like you and Eric live in like one of the most beautiful homes I've ever seen. I've not been there, but I've like seen photos and videos of my friends at your place. And I'm just like, oh my God, you guys live in a dream, right? You had to work so hard to get there. You had to get rid of what everyone told you was possible and dream bigger for yourself. You had to have a bigger vision than most people. I know you guys have an epic studio in Vegas for live events, and that you hold live events, and that you've got one coming up, which I can't wait to talk to you about. But really what it comes down to is either you earn the ability to be around people that are going to increase your knowledge and financial success, or you pay for proximity. And a lot of the times it's way faster to pay for proximity, by the way, and learn from them and move forward, right? But a lot of the times we have this judgment and we think, I could never do that. Or somebody's told you can't do that. And you think, no, I'm just never going to be one of those people. And what I hope people get out of this conversation with you, and I know that they'll get out of your event, is that you have a seat at the table. You just have to decide. You have to bring your best. You have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and not care about judgment and what other people think. And so I kind of want to, before we talk about your event, because we will, and I'm super excited for you to share more about that, but I want to talk a little bit to you about building business and being a mom, right? Like there's a lot of moms out there that have big hopes, big dreams, and think, well, I can't because I have to take care of the house. I have to take care of the kids. Everybody else comes before me. And so how on earth did you manage to build such an empire without the mom guilt that most people use to hold them back?
Mom guilt is a very interesting thing because when you were describing the job, right, 9 to 5, or oftentimes jobs are much longer than that, right? What ends up happening is one thing that we do not necessarily realize. If you have a 9 to 5, you're coming back home, you're already tired, right? You already spent all day working. Now you need to take care of dinner. So you need to feed your family, you need to cook the dinner, you need to feed the family, you need to clean the dishes. And then you want to tuck your kids to bed, whatever the ages are, right? Or do the homework or do something. You're already exhausted. We're not necessarily in that scenario. We're not necessarily spending quality time with our children. And we cannot really give them what we want to give them. So we have that mom guilt that I'm failing miserably. I cannot show my kids the world. I cannot travel with them. I cannot buy them extra school supply, or I cannot put them into the private school, or I cannot afford to go into the sport or take them into the practice because I'm working, or I cannot pay for that practice, or I cannot pay for that sport because all of them are ridiculously expensive. So all these thoughts are going through our brains and our minds because like it's hard. It's really hard to do and not feel guilty that we're not giving our all, even though we're working our butts off, right? At the same time, people love to judge when a mom decides, then you know what, I'm gonna take charge. I'm gonna work extra hours or work hours around my kids' schedule, around their school, around their plays, around their sport, so I can get my business going and then I can spend quality time. I think quality time is much more important question to ask than how much of that time we're spending with our kids. Because just because you are kind of around your kids or your kids are kind of around you, you're not spending any time with them. We're not spending that quality time. And you know a secret? I don't know about your kids, but my kids, Eric and I, we have 5 total. Our youngest just turned 18, not just, but he's turning 19 soon. They don't want a lot of your time. We're boring for them. They're just like, okay, mom, let's have a conversation for 5 minutes. Ciao, bye. And I'm gone, right? Regardless of their ages, right? As soon as they kind of like come out of the diapers and totally dependent on you, they want to see cartoons. They want to play with their friends. They want to do something. They want to color something. They're not necessarily excited to spend all of their time with you, right? So on one side, I feel like sometimes the whole mom guilt is becoming more of a like an ego thing for us, like, oh, I need to be with them or they need to be with me, right? On the other side, I feel like when we decide that we want to build something, we want to give them a better future because we are an example. We're not teaching our kids by telling them what to do, how to live their life, or inspiring them. We're showing our kids how to live their life by our own example. When I was in my broken relationship, one of the reasons I stayed in that relationship was because of my kids, or at least that's what I told myself. I was like, oh, you know what? My daughter went through a separation, so she's a divorce baby. I didn't want to put my son through the same thing. And because of that, I'm going to suck it up and I'm going to stay in this relationship. And no matter what, I'm going to make it work. Even through sacrificing my own ambition, my love, my like everything that I represent and stand for, just to hopefully for her or for my son at the time to have a loving family. And that's not true, because do we think that our kids are not watching us crying to bed every single night? Do they not understand that we're deeply unhappy? Do they not understand that we're not living the happy life or loving and caring relationship? They see all of that, right? So we can only pretend for so long, because even if they're tiny, tiny little babies, they already understand way more than we think. So, and that was the time when I decided that I want to leave that relationship, but I was still kind of like forcing myself to stay in it. And that was when I met Eric, and he told me, it's like, what do you think going to show your kids a better example? And at that time, you know, it just like my life flashed in front of my eyes. And I realized, you know what, if my baby boy comes to me because somebody bullied him in school, and I'll tell him, no, honey, you can do and be everything you want to be. Or when my girl comes home and somebody tells her, is like, who do you think you are? You're just a girl, you're just a woman. You cannot achieve big dreams. You're not going to be running big companies or building empires. You're just a girl. And I would tell her, no, honey, you can build everything you want. You can have everything you want. You can do and, you know, build a huge business. And then both of them would come to me and say, well, then why you didn't do it? And that's when it dawned on me that I have to show them by my example, not in my words, but by my example, how to live a happy life, how to be loved, how to find and build that relationship where, when you're feeling respected, when you're being loved, when you're being celebrated, when you don't have to, deem your light in order to fit to somebody else's level because they're threatened by you chasing your dreams, by you being yourself, right? So, and that was the moment when I decided, you know what? Not even for me, for them. I have to be the best version I can possibly be. And that's when, I started working on myself, and that's when I started rebuilding my confidence. And that was the moment when I got back to network marketing. And I made myself a promise that I will show them what the entrepreneurship looks like, good, bad, and ugly, all of that in between. And I will try to equip them as much as possible with problem solving skills, with bigger vision skills, with the camaraderie and building relationships and network, all the different stuff that we can teach our kids by being an entrepreneur. And guess what? Your teams, your downlines are like our kids, right? Sometimes they need a little toy that we can dwindle to them so they can get excited, like a new promotion or new product or new something, so they don't get bored. At the same time, if you bring a new team, if you bring a new leader into your organization, the old team gonna start screaming and yelling and crying when you get on the phone and help them grow their team. It's just exactly the same. So we need to sometime negotiate with them. Mama gonna go and spend some time with your brother. Don't hit your sister. All this exciting stuff. So I think there are so many parallels between building the team and raising kids. But at the end of the day, I think that if we realize that, first of all, our kids need our quality time, but also the best gift that we can give them is to show them what's possible, is to instill that belief in them and pave the way so they can start dreaming bigger, so they can start believing in themselves, and also let them make some small mistakes. So hopefully by learning through those experiences, by learning through those mistakes, it will prevent them from making bigger mistakes in life. Christina asked me to share about the women's event. So on June 15th, I'm hosting the Most Powerful Women in Network Marketing event, which actually my 10th anniversary. I can't believe that it's been already 10 years since I've been doing this event. And, when it started, it's been, one of the reasons why is Eric and I host a GoPro Recruiting Mastery event in December. And as you probably already know, 77% of all the participants are women. And of course, who makes all the purchasing decisions? We do, right? So we buy for our households, we buy for our spouses, we buy for ourselves. So on top of being your biggest representation of your team, we are also the biggest customer base. So, but at the same time, we did not have a place to come together. We did not have a place to discuss things like how to build a business and still be a mom, how to build a business if your spouse is not necessarily supporting you, or how you guys delegate, who's leading, who's supporting, or both leading, or all the different dynamics that are happening inside of the building the team. And of course, how do we, empower ourselves, or how we encourage ourselves to step into our true potential? Because I do believe that as women, we oftentimes we carry so much weight for others. We try to help everybody, and in that pure ambition and desire to help as many people as we can, we start carrying the weight of responsibilities, and you just pile and pile and pile on top of ourselves. And at the end of the day, we break, right? We cannot carry everybody's challenges and everybody's responsibilities, and we get into the state of overwhelm. And what do, right? What happens once we get into the state of overwhelm? So the time management, delegating, letting go of control, all the different things that are, I think, probably bigger things for women than men. So that was kind of like the idea, to create that safe place where women can come together and share their strategies, share also not just, the mindset of it all, but also what's working, right? How do we build a business? One of the things that I ask every year, and this year specifically, all my leaders or the speakers of the event, tell me what's working today. If you guys felt it probably in the last couple of years, especially after COVID, the landscape changed. You know, the whole market changed, and the way people respond to home-based business, or the way people want to build a business, and the discipline and all these different things. COVID created very interesting dynamic, and created a lot of earners, people who made a lot of money, but did not necessarily become leaders in that process. So, and now when the first wind blows into their face, because they did not build that substance, because they did not build that, strength, that's everybody start running away, or they start blaming or complaining. Back to, remember, we talked about taking responsibility and being in charge. So what I ask this event specifically, all the speakers, is first of all, tell me what's working today. Tell me what are you doing to grow your business. Tell me what are you doing to duplicate. Tell me what are you doing to bring new fresh class of 2024 into your organization, and how you help them to succeed. So all these different strategies we will be sharing during this event. And I made it super cheap and pretty short, because I know we're all busy moms, or busy women with all the different things that we have to take care of. So I made it 3 hours general admission session and 2 more hours for the VIP. We're going to have a couples panel. We're going to have a badass panel. During the VIP session, Eric and I are going to do a little coaching, the hot seat coaching, which is going to be a lot of fun. I know we often end up talking about relationships. So if you have any relationship questions, we're going to talk about that as well. And during the VIP part, if you, for whatever reason, if you cannot watch the entire event live, or want to watch it a little bit later to take more notes and listen to specific concepts one more time, there is a replay inside of the VIP ticket. So again, it's super cheap, $27 for general admission ticket. And trust me, it's going to be packed value event, because all the speakers at the event, pretty much every single one of them, either number one in their company or top 5. So I think a pretty good group of leaders and women to learn from. So I'm super excited. June 15th, that's when we're going to start. 3 hours plus 2. And I cannot wait to see you. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, and I think Christina is back.
I'm back. I apologize. You are a champ. Thank you for your grace. I don't know what happened to my internet, but it went all wacky. So $27, you guys, honestly, like that's crazy to me, because I know, I paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get it up close and personal, and advice that you'll be sharing there. And like $27, if you pay that and you show up to this event and you take notes and you treat it like a class, this is the difference in our education system now, right? Instead of going through a 4-year or 6-year degree, right? And coming out on the other side and having irrelevant information, because technology is changing the world so quickly, you can go in and go to events like this, or even you and Eric have a private mastermind for top earners that you can go and join and learn from people that are making it happen right now in this economy. That's the difference, is that you start learning from people that are successful now, not successful 10 years ago, or they've studied to be successful and are teaching you those kind of tactics. So for $27, I did put the link in the show notes, so you can buy that ticket right now. You just click on the link below. Make sure that you get that ticket, because I'm telling you, the value that you will get out of this event is second to none. And I am just so grateful that you took some time to have a conversation with me today, and what you bring forth in the world and how you help people. I think this is so powerful. And I also appreciate, that a lot of the times it's our self-limiting beliefs, or it's our relationships. It's our dynamic in our relationships that can hold us back. Sometimes I know people feel like they have to, maybe not over succeed. They don't want to make their partner feel bad, or something even to the opposite effect. And by the way, men never feel that way. Men never feel that way. Only women feel that way. Oh, I can't outshine my husband. I don't want to, take over the spotlight. But men will go out there and crush it, because they're going to take care of their family. But we have every right to step up to the plate and make an impact, because women are so special to what's going on in this world right now. No, not only are we nurturers, but I know every single one of us would do anything for our children, and we're raising the next generation, right? So we have to go out there and be role models for them and show them what's possible. And Marina, you are absolutely an exemplary model of that. So thank you so much for being here today. Again, I'm sorry for the tech issues, but I appreciate you so much. And I look forward to working with you very closely in the near future.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And tech issues. That's what we do. We roll with it, right?
Every
I mean,
time.
it's like stuff gonna happen, and that's what leaders do. We figure out the way. We come back, and we everybody knows that that was live, so everybody can see it. There was no kind of like prepped questions or pre-prepared content for you guys, everything raw and real, and just to show. And that's exactly what I do at my events too. Sometimes people ask me, as I go, why this you put that person on stage, and he or she is not necessarily the best, most eloquent speaker. I was like, just so you can see that you don't have to be the most amazing presenter, the most amazing and most charismatic person, or screaming and yelling and bubbly bunny. You can be yourself. You can be your unique, amazing, powerful self and be successful in this business. So I hope you guys will join the event. It's going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait to see you. And Christina, thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. And that is another episode of Freedom Motivated. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to another inspiring episode of Freedom Motivated with your host, me, Christina Whiteley. We hope that the stories we've shared today have sparked a fire within you and ignited your passion for living life on your terms. Remember, true freedom lies in the choices we make and the actions we take. So go out there and embrace your journey. Take the leap of faith, believe in yourself, and never settle for less than what you deserve. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the Freedom Motivated podcast and never miss out on our upcoming interviews with more incredible entrepreneurs and freedom leaders. Be bold, be brave, be disruptive. You are capable of things far beyond your wildest dreams if you just have the courage to go for it. Thank you for being a part of this incredible community. Until next time, may you always be driven by the desire for freedom and motivated to make your dreams a reality.